Welcome back to Star Narratives, the podcast. This is your go-to for accessible and relatable astrology designed to help you understand your inner workings and spiritual awakening. I'm your host, Natha Perkins. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's another week. It's Natha. Just a reminder that I am posting these podcast episodes on YouTube. If you are a YouTube person, come over, like and subscribe so then you get notified when these pop up. And if you are a Star Narratives podcast listener, thank you so much for joining me. It is really my pleasure to bring this information to as many of you as possible. And remember that the algorithm is what we're all working with. So any reviews, any likes, even coming to my Instagram at Electra_astrology and leaving a comment or hitting the like button, as cheesy as that sounds, I know we're all kind of tired of that, but it is a way to boost the algorithm, just to bring this information to more people. As you know, this is season 5, where I am dissecting all of the sun signs, and we are in the season of Cancer. And we only have 1 week left of Cancer, and we're talking about the Cancerian gifts. So if you have missed any of the previous episodes, we went way into it. We talked about the physical components of the Cancerian archetype and how we either digest or don't digest our emotions. And most of us don't digest them very well, so they're just kind of hanging around. We also talked about the shadows. Last week was a really juicy episode. All right, so Cancer is the boss. One of the ways that Cancer comes in and uses the powers are by listening, watching, but also feeling, understanding what energy feels like, and understanding how to interpret that energy. So this is all happening on an internal level. This is not necessarily a conversation that we're having with somebody about it. This is us just tuning into the energetic feeling of the room and the energetic feeling of the person that we're dealing with. Because when we understand that, we get extra information and then we know how to handle it. So instead of being unconscious, and that unconsciousness is really easy to slip into. We talked a lot about this in Gemini season, where when you are unconscious and you're on autopilot, your brain just brings you all manners of stuff and you're just following along. You're just believing it and you're getting freaked out about it, etc. So an unconscious mind is an uncontrolled mind, and we don't want uncontrolled minds. And the same thing is true for uncontrolled emotions. This is what we practice when I say, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and come into your physical body. So just do that for a minute. Coming into your physical body, coming into the very present moment. This is where you bring your consciousness on board. Because when you are in the present moment, when you are watching your breath, and when you are paying attention to your physical responses to what's going on, this is how you attune. This is the gateway into understanding the energetic influences in any given situation. Part of being a good queen, a dependable queen, a loving and safe mother, is in learning to hold space. It's in learning to hold your center. So when you are in a situation where there's emotional volatility, where you're dealing with somebody that's angry or somebody that's sad, or you're freaking out about something that's just happened to you, we are on autopilot responding. And that's when you get mad. It's when you react. It's when you hang up on somebody. That is also where you slip into what we talked about last week, which is, I need to fix your problem. Let me help you. Or, oh my God, I'm taking your mood personally. This must be my fault. Or getting angry that somebody else is freaking out and saying, you're impacting me and now I'm stressed out. And then it's just chaotic. So what we're learning to do with this Cancerian energy that we all have is we're learning to be the calm in the center of the storm. And that is what a good queen and a capable mother creates. The calm in the center of the storm, so that when everybody else is chaotic and freaking out around us, we're holding the space. We're okay. We're not getting invested and enmeshed with everything that's happening to that person or in that room. We are awake and aware. And simply being awake and aware is not only soothing and calming for our own nervous system so that we're not getting swept away, it can also help calm and soothe the nervous systems of the people around us, even if those people don't realize that's what's happening. So there's something very powerful about using this Cancerian leadership energy. So you can practice this the next time that you are out and about. When there's something going down, even if it's just in your family, if it's even in your own mind, when there's something going down that is emotionally triggering and stressful, this is where you switch into holding your space, holding your center, taking deep breaths, and just breathing into whatever is here in the given moment, and practice that and watch how you actually shift the energy of those around you. This is another reason to work to keep yourself as clean and clear as possible. So we do things like saltwater baths, and we get our exercise, and we drink our water, and we stay away from the things that are going to bring us energetically down. Anything that we use to numb ourselves from having to feel the pain is also going to bring us out of our ability to create that center. It's going to make unconsciousness that much easier. And unconsciousness, it's what most of the world is doing. And we look around and we say, there's so many problems. Somebody out there needs to fix the problems. And the truth is that why are we asking unconscious people? Why are we putting our faith and our power in the hands of unconscious people to solve the problems? And we say that on a very small level too. Why are we wanting unconscious people to react differently to us, to not honk at us in traffic, to not say something that's irritating to us, right? So when we put our power into everybody else's hands, then we are no longer the leader. And so with this Cancerian archetype, it's really important that you maintain your leadership. And we talked about this with the Cancer Capricorn axis. Capricorn is the advisor, but it is also the problem solver. It's the fatherly energy. Cancer is the motherly energy, and we want really capable parents in charge. But what we all have learned through going through our own lives is that we look around and we realize, oh, I'm supposed to be the parent here. I'm no longer willing to assign authority to outside quote unquote parents. If I'm going to be the parent, if I'm going to be the queen, if I'm going to be the advisor, if I'm going to be the mother or the father here, I want to do things my way, and I want to do them in integrity. I don't want to lose my state of consciousness. And I want to be operating from my center as often as possible, because operating from our centers means that we are making attuning choices and decisions. We are not going off of our reactions. And how many of you have had reactivity where you said something really horrible, or you got in a fight with somebody and you ended up after the fact just feeling awful? You have to climb then into your Cancerian shell, and you're angry and you're resentful and you have to lash out. Like, we don't have time for that anymore. We are doing World 2.0 at this point. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're on board for World 2.0, which means you got to take responsibility for your emotions and for your emotional reactivity. And the easiest, most simple way to do that, but also so hard because we don't remember, is to hold your center. Practice taking a deep breath, coming into your physical body, and watching. What do you notice? What is going on? Now, Cancer is a water sign, so it's connected to Scorpio and Pisces. And with all three of this trinity of water signs, we're all doing something different when it comes to emotions. With Scorpio, we're trying to understand the underlying factors. We're trying to identify why is this person so strange? Oh, they're really angry. Oh, they're having a shame response. Okay. Having the awareness makes all the difference, because then I can work from that knowledge instead of just going into straight defensive mode, defending against this person. And then we go over to Pisces, and Pisces is where we have to connect in with our higher power. We realize none of this is in our control, but there is some force that is greater than us that is always optimizing, making things better. We don't understand why, and we don't understand the timeline, but we have this support. We can, in many cases, let our need for control go with the understanding that this divine support system is working in our benefit. And then we come down to Cancer and we say, I have to understand my own emotional reactivity. I have to understand my own emotional response here, and I have to take responsibility for it. And so this is fun to play around with because it's really like having your own magic wand. Play around with this. The next time that you are in public and you see somebody having a meltdown, practice taking a deep breath, a few deep breaths into your belly, coming into the present moment, sensing into the energy around you, holding space. That's all you're doing. You're one person in a sea of other people that's actually present and conscious and holding space. And watch if you can see that situation start to diffuse. It really does work. And you can practice this in your family and in your relationships. It's not that you're solving the problem, because that's not what we're doing with Cancer. We're not always obligated to solve everybody's problems so that we don't have to feel stressed out. This is us just shifting the energy by being calm. So I use this example. Have you ever been on an airplane and there's tons of turbulence and you are stressing out and you're looking around and you watch the passengers and they're also stressing out and everyone's taking deep breaths and their hands are on their hearts and whatnot, and you start to go to the dark side. Oh my God, we're all going down. But then you look at the flight attendant and she's just happy as can be. She's just handing out her drinks, or she's just clicking into her seatbelt. She's fine. She doesn't seem concerned at all. And what does that do for your nervous system? Calms it. And so that's what we are all seeking to do with our Cancerian gifts. We're calming the situations. We are just holding space by being an anchor, by being grounded, by setting the example of calm, conscientious energy. So just take a deep breath into that. Practice once again this idea of coming back into your body. And as you are back here in your body temporarily, what do you notice? What's happening in your body? Do you have aches and pains? Do you need a drink? Do you need to use the restroom? Just spending a few conscious moments with your body is as powerful as spending a few conscious moments with your child, with your partner. It's really powerful stuff. We are incredibly distracted and our minds are overtaking us. And so we're working to bring this sense of consciousness through all of these different outlets, coming back to the body, taking the attention off of the mind, tuning into the energy of the field. And these are all small tools that if you practice every day, they are muscles that get stronger. And then you become more able and more aware of holding space when you see stress and chaos outside of you. You just go more automatically into, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to hold some space for whatever is happening. I'm here to be the one person, possibly, that is breathing and centered and grounded while everybody else is freaking out. And there's a lot of power in that. All right, let's talk about the astrology of the week. So if you are watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see this chart, but if you're listening, I'll walk you through it verbally. We begin on July 15th with this major conjunction. We have Uranus in a conjunction with Mars and the fixed star Algol. So this is, speaking of holding your center, this brings in some energy, some friction, some unrest, some discontent. And, it's nothing to be scared of, but you have your own personal responsibility. So when we are watching things that are happening outside of us, in our government, in our community, in our collective, it's really easy to go into fear and stress and what ifs and oh my gods, all of that. But, you have your own power. You have your ability to hold your center, your ability to come into the present moment, your ability to turn your mind off of all of those incessant monkey mind thoughts. And you're going to get to practice this, especially over the next handful of months and maybe even years, as we're in such a big transition energetically on the planet. And we're also in a big transition this year if you're in the US with the elections. And there's just a lot going on and a lot of fear mongering. So we've talked about this Neptune being at the 29th degree of Pisces and how this is a degree of subterfuge, of confusion, of pulling the wool over everybody's eyes and making them think that one thing is happening when it's really not happening, or making them think that something isn't happening when it really is happening. So you have to use your discernment. This is all about discernment, which is why we're working really hard to cultivate our intuitive abilities and our gut instincts. Because as artificial intelligence becomes more and more prevalent, we can make anything look like anything, and we can make anyone sound like anyone. So where does that leave us? We can't trust anything that we see on screens for the most part. And your only way of discernment, your most clear way of discernment, is by listening to your inner self, your gut. So we're practicing that. We know that Uranus brings in energy of shift and change that's really potent and revolutionary. And we know that Mars is an element of decision making, action taking, and war. Now, the fixed star Algol, now this is the only time that we're going to see this conjunction in our lives. It's just not a common conjunction at all. And this star is always at 26. It moves so slowly, 25, 26 degrees of Taurus is really all that we have seen it in our lifetimes. But point here is that Algol is not an auspicious star. It rules alcohol, and it is called the demon star. Now, without getting all creepy and into all of that, because I don't really go there personally, but the fact that it's called that, and we're having this big conjunction right on that star, it says to me, it might get weird. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to hold your center. You're going to take some time and space to process your emotions, to ride the emotional wave. Listen to your gut about what is true and what is not true. And most importantly, you're going to remember that anytime that you are approaching a situation or a relationship or an occurrence through the lens of fear, oh my God, this is the worst thing. We're never going to ... We're always going to ... that you're moving in the wrong direction. You want to be looking at situations through a sense of peace, calmness, and love. Now, how do you get there if you are activated? You use your tools, your ability to get present and your ability to calm your mind and touch in with your higher power. Remembering that we are just humans. We do not have to fix all of the problems, that we simply have to tolerate the energies that those problems create in us. And then we ask our higher power for guidance, and then we listen to what sounds like it's in alignment, and then we take action. So you might be somebody where this transit passes you by and you don't even feel it. Or you might be somebody that's like, oh my God, this is what she was talking about. Either way, make sure that this is a week that you're spending time grounded, alone, centered, using your tools for coming back to yourself. On the 18th, we have a really nice connection between the sun and Uranus. When we see a trine between the sun and anything, we look at our internal experience and we say, like, who am I and how am I going to work with a world that is under such significant shifting and changing? And that's another version of consciousness, having a bit of a baseline. How am I going to meet new shifts and changes? It can be as simple as, how am I going to develop a relationship with artificial intelligence? And then it can get really personal. You know, how am I going to support my child moving into the world? How am I going to support a stronger foundational relationship with my partner? How am I going to support myself as I move through career changes? And that's what the sun in a trine to Uranus asks you to look at. How are you going to respond to shifts and changes in your life with grace? We also have Mercury in a trine to Chiron, Mars, coming up to a sextile in Neptune. Really nice that we have these sextile and trine energies, because these support all of the energy that's trying to move. It's like when you get a massage and your practitioner moves all of this muscular tissue, and then they say, drink a lot of water, because drinking the water is going to help process through the toxins. So that's kind of like these sextiles and trines. They're bringing us the lubrication to help us process everything that's going on in the field. And then on the 21st, we have that full moon in Capricorn. It's at 29 degrees. The moon is in a conjunction to Pluto. It's in a sextile and a trine to Mars. You remember me talking about this full moon. We began the month with a full moon in Capricorn that was at 1 degree. Now we have gone through this entire month. We've had a lot of interesting astrology through the month, and now we are at the full moon at 29 degrees. So part of why this is so interesting is that we've essentially gone through an entire moon cycle through this Cancer Capricorn axis and this archetype. We also know that Pluto is about to retrograde back to the 29th degree of Capricorn, and this will be the third time. And this is where it will stay at 29 degrees until it fully leaves Capricorn and heads into Aquarius. So this is very powerful energy. What you can do is you can really look at a few different things. You can look at what has happened for you this month, what has come up in the realm of the Cancer archetype, feelings. Are you a good mother? Are you a good queen? Are you sensing into things, or are you reacting to them? Do you get moody and crabby and resentful more often than you're able to hold your space? Like, these are questions. Also, your own relationship with your mother might have come into the spotlight. You can also look at this Capricorn archetype of the government, the governing bodies, whether it's your own inner critic, whether it is outside of you, and you're looking at your state and local and national government. We are looking at the idea of the advisor, good advisors versus terrible advisors. So over the past month, how have these themes shown up for you? And what have they brought to the surface for you? And then we also look all the way back to the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, and we say, what has gone down since then? How have I changed since Pluto has been through Capricorn? There have been significant changes. We see them outside on a really big and very confrontational and obvious level. There's no more denying that the corporations, the powers that be, are quite nefarious in nature. There's no more denying that. Then we have to look inward and we say, as above, so below, as without, so within. How am I either perpetuating what I see out there, or working to heal and be better, be more benevolent, kinder to my own system? How can I be a better king? How can I be a better queen? So that can be a question for you during this full moon at the 29th degree, which is the degree of mastery. How can I be a better king? That's the sun. And a queen, that's the moon. And what needs to be transformed? What do I still need to bring awareness to? That's Pluto. And what do I need to take action on? That's Mars. So this is a pretty big week astrologically. We also, I want to note that Mars has just entered the sign of Gemini, so it finally leaves Taurus. Mars also makes this trine to Pluto. So it's another trine from Mars. Mars governs our action. It governs our boundaries. And I like seeing Mars in a trine to Pluto because we need to bring our own boundaries into more awareness so that we know how to attend to them a little bit better. I do think that this North Node in the sign of Aries, ruled by Mars, is really teaching us a lot about what our own personal boundaries are, what we are willing to accept, and what we are confident to reject. I hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you all next week. So much for spending time with me. You can find me all over the internet or at electroastrology.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with your friends and help them discover us. And if you are the kind of person who likes to leave reviews, I'd greatly appreciate it.